openly like vomit-inducing, crying and tossing in my sleep. It's like my brother's favourite comic was The Fall Run, and my brother is like 6'4", and and he would tear my head off if I ruined Fall. So there was a physical motivation there. But it's kind of, in some ways, the fact it was so like desperate. As I'm a kind of like somebody who no way has that profile. I figured I was doomed. It's like, even if it was good, I thought people would hate it because JMS was so well respected. They would hate me just because I wasn't JMS. So in that case, that was kind of freeing, as I realised it didn't matter. All I had to worry about was essentially, would I do a story I liked? And I did, and it was kind of all I did was concentrate on the actual work, and it turned out okay, which was the most wonderful thing about it. And that immediately the reviews are very good, which was completely not what I was expecting. So it was nice, and it was kind of a useful lesson, as in it's kind of to think of the best of people rather than just like thinking it's going to all go wrong. Optimism works.
That question was actually from my friend in the UK, Ian, and he's a big fan of yours. And
hello.
he has actually a web comic, and so he'd like to know what other tips you could give for a UK aspiring writer to make it into comics.
Oh, just do it. I mean, it sounds like he's doing exactly what he should be doing. The best way to get into comics is to pick up something and just do it. I mean, the way I got into comics was doing small press, self-published work, like literal photocopies and staples. I did web comics. I did, I ended up doing editorial comics for magazines. It was just kind of just doing stuff. And if you do stuff and you get stuff out there, you will essentially meet people and you'll make contacts with people, and it can good work out. And define good work however you wish, but because there's so many different ways to get a career in comics. But you end up gravitating towards people who essentially have similar aesthetic preferences to you. And it's also, it was a thing like, my first comic came out, and it's a little 5-page story. When that came out, a couple of other artists said, "Oh, I like that, do you want to do something sometime?" And then I did a story with them, and that led to working with other artists and other artists. And that's kind of been my whole career, essentially just the last work leads to your next work. Whether you're doing it for free on a website, or whether you're doing it for Marvel, it's all kind of a similar continuum. Anyway, that's it.
So what's your inspiration behind in getting yourself involved with the X-Men?
Wow.
How did that begin?
It's a weird thing. It's like I come from, like I said, an indie comics background, so I don't think about stuff until I'm asked. It's that kind of like, I've never actively gone out and pitched a comic for like Marvel and stuff. It's always they've asked me, Kieran, have you got an idea for Dazzler comic? And I'll sit down and think, okay, have I got an idea for a Dazzler comic? And in the case of the X-Men, it was similar to that, in that I kind of been working with the X Office. I did a book called Sword, which is kind of a spin-off of Astonishing X-Men, and that did well critically, and Marvel liked it. Didn't do very well in sales, but can't have everything. And then I was doing a book called Generation Hope, which I'm doing like 12 issues of. And that was kind of happening. I was working closely with Matt, and the situation where Matt basically, his schedule, he was doing Fear Itself, he was doing Iron Man, he's doing Thor, something had to give. So it's okay, Matt, we'll move Matt off X-Men. The fact that I've been working with Matt, and the fact that they like my work, and they, especially because I didn't mess up Thor, I think, so that, are you interested in doing X-Men? And I said, yeah, probably. And it was that kind of like, no, it's the effing X-Men. I always joke, it's like, my mum fancies Wolverine, when you're writing a character your mum knows and fancies, you're dealing with very powerful pop culture objects. So in that case, it's like, what do I think about the X-Men? What do I think is interesting? Where is the story now? Where do I think it should? Where's an interesting way to take it? And from the off, I knew what my themes were, and it's about community, a community in a world that hates you. Trying to build a community in modern times, and these are relevant questions. I mean, a lot of my friends are like political journalists, and I'm very inspired by the political situation in Britain, in both like the riots last year and the riots now, and the whole sort of like class structure and that kind of thing. That's all very fascinating. I mean, most superheroes, let's say, the student protests last year, they would probably be on the police side, as to make sure there wasn't trouble. There's a fair chance the X-Men might be on the student side, and that's kind of one of the things I find quite appealing about them. They're not actually working for the government. These are actually private individuals that are choosing to do something they think is quote unquote the right thing. So yeah, you know, I find the X-Men enormously inspiring in that way. Yeah, lucky. Actually, the short answer is they asked me to do it, and I said yes.
Have you started to pitch their ideas to Marvel, or are you still waiting for new projects from them?
No, it's got my schedule. So you know, I'm writing Journey to Mystery and I'm writing X-Men, and they're kind of pretty much coming out twice a month, and that's kind of like that's about how much work's comfortable, and that's why I stopped doing Generation Hope because you know the main reason anyway. There's only so many hours in the day, and we've got the plan for X-Men ongoing to a certain point. We've got Journey to Mystery, which I've got a rough plan for about 40 issues. So it's kind of like that's a big block of time for me, especially because I'm also doing like indie work as well of my own. And when you're doing that amount of stuff, you think I don't want the quality to slip. I see, you know, I've known people who are talking too much work, and they realise it's too late. And I don't want to do anything I'm unhappy with. So no, I'm not planning anything particular at the moment, but it'd be nice to get a mini-series around the side. That's a good thing. If you're doing ongoings, you do a mini on the quiet. You never know. There's stuff I would like to do with Marvel. If I had like 48 hours in the day, I would have so much, you know, there's never a shortage of ideas or urges. Yeah.
What's your second life?
My second life?
Yeah.
I barely have a first life. Well, I used to be a games journalist. I used to write about video games. In fact, and I still co-own a website, which is like a British-based PC games website called Rock Paper Shotgun, which it makes money, which is a miracle. And I sort of co-own that, so I still occasionally go and write a big piece of serious games criticism about a game no one has played and no one cares about except for me. Which is, you know, fun. Yeah, and I also, you know, I'm very into music, which is my background in comical phonogram, which is about pop music and magic as a metaphor. So that's part of it. And I'm a big fan of lying around and sleeping. Sleeping and resting and buying suits. That's kind of what I do.